Good morning, West Ham fans. I was waiting for the ticket to rush to the West Ham Network. Hope you're safe and well. It's Hump Day, it's Pitch Punch first month, and it's Bin Day. What a day to be alive. Obviously, yesterday we sort of went through the aftermath of the game. I did a little bit about Nuno's first post-match press conference, and indeed we'll have his first pre-match press conference later on this week ahead of the games on Saturday against Arsenal before everyone buggers off on international duties, as I said on Sky Sports. Now, the main sort of reason for today's video is to look at who Nuno's gonna bring in for his backroom staff. Now, obviously, when Potter left, everyone else left. The two goalkeeper coaches, obviously, all his backroom staff vamoose, and so he was in a bit of a pinch for the game on Sunday, Monday rather, and brought along all the academy coaches, which I thought was very sensible. Very sensible indeed. But now, according to ex-WHU employee, he's revealed who is going to likely be coming into the backroom staff, and a little surprise as well, potentially, I think, on the horizon. So I'm going to go through them just so everyone knows what's going down. If you like what we do, don't forget to give it a like, comment, share, or hype if you have a spare hype. So a lot of these are still contracted to Nottingham Forest as well at the moment. I think obviously Angie's still trying to put together his team as well. But a number of these are currently at Forest at the moment. Pedro Silva is, in essence, he's got sort of two assistant coaches really, but very much, he's been a scout in Braga. He's been assistant at Porto, Malaga, Panathinaikos. Joined Nuno at Rio Ave as his assistant after previously working with him at Malaga and Panathinaikos. Stayed as his assistant when he at Valencia, Porto, Wolverhampton Wanderers. He didn't join him at Spurs because he decided he wanted to become a first team manager, and he did in the Premier Liga for Malico. But then he left by mutual consent and was then seconded to when Nuno went to Nottingham Forest. So we would expect Pedro Silva to be joining him as assistant manager. Same to the man with the smallest glasses in football, Julio Figueroa. Look at those glasses, my friends. This guy looks a character. Julio is also currently listed as assistant manager at Nottingham Forest as well. His contract actually runs out in the summer, so whether they might hold off until the summer or get him in earlier, I don't know. Also assistant manager at Valencia under Nuno, and at Wolves as well. So again, someone he likes to have people around him. A bit like Potter likes to have certain people around him. Every manager does like to have their sort of backroom staff in place. Then then we've got another likely character in terms of Rio Barbosa. Now, he's a goalkeeper coach. Now, again, still currently at Nottingham Forest, I believe, as goalkeeper coach. I'm just trying to look at the clubs he was at. He was at Rio Ave with, he was at Wolves as well, Spurs as well. Did he manage there? Did Nuno Espirito manage? Let me just check. Did he manage in the Saudi Pro League for a bit? No, he didn't. No, Ave, Porto. Yes, he did. Al Ittihad, and he was at Al Ittihad with him as well. So again, a character who's very much been around the block with Nuno. Interesting side fact: he suffered 6 stitches when he was in the dugout when Nottingham Forest played Brentford, celebrating a goal. He headbutted he's a tall lad, and he headbutted the dugout and had to require 6 stitches. So there we go. That's going to be fun. And then the fitness coach. Now, although X has said he's likely to join in terms of Antonio Diaz, he has just signed with Benfica. He's currently at Benfica's conditioning. He was a conditioning fitness coach pretty much all through Nuno's time at Wolves. He was at Spurs, Al Ittihad, Nottingham Forest. He was down there, and then when Nuno got sacked, he actually went to Fenerbahce to join Jose Mourinho, and Jose Mourinho got sacked, and he moved with Jose to Benfica. So although X has put him down as potentially coming in, I don't know whether that would happen. Because he's only just moved and the amount of compensation would take. So there may be others in terms of conditioning coaches that we bring in. I don't know. But there's going to be a whole raft of new faces on the bench. Or is there? Because X made an interesting point as well, saying that he wants to add a mix of people from within the club to join him in the first team squad. However, those are yet to be undecided. However, I would assume someone like Mark Robson will be brought in. He was very much Nuno's left-hand man, really, as you looked at it, on the dugout, was the first one to celebrate, seemed to have a very good relationship with Nuno. I would not be surprised for Mark to take the step up again. He's done it before, did under David Moyes. And you know, I think that's a very clever idea by Nuno. Not to just have all his own people, but to have someone, a conduit, so to speak, particularly even more so between the academy and West Ham. It's a very good card to play. I tell you what, he's a very clever person, Nuno. He knows exactly what he's doing in terms of the staff he's bringing in. He's bringing his own people, which is fair enough. But I think with thinking back to Potter didn't bring in any. Neither did Lopetegui as well. He brought in his own men. And so to have a mix of your guys, but also guys who understand West Ham already, I doff my cap to you, Nuno. I think that's actually a very, very clever idea and a great way to get the fans on board as well. As I said, Mark's done that step up before and allowed someone like Potsy to go back into the under-21 head coach role. So Mark did that under Moyes. Potsy stepped up, and then when Moyes left, he came back to the under-21 squad, and then Potsy went aside to be sort of the assistant coach. I could see that quite easily happening into the 21s. Over someone. I mean, the fact is you've got Gerrard there as well, who was part of the sort of the first team coaching staff last year, really dropped into the academy this year to add some more senior coaching staff in there as well. So that's what I think will happen, because there's clearly a shape there. And even if Robbo's the guy in the stands, usually at home games, they have a couple of guys up in the press boxes looking down at the game and feeding back, and he might be one of those guys. But I think that's a very clever idea. I wouldn't be surprised, in all honesty. I'm trying to think who Nuno knows, in terms of maybe bringing an ex-player, because again, he's very quick to talk about getting the right guys in, and also, getting the fans on board. We'll wait and see. But he says he's good. He wants to get a mix in, which is great, which I think is exactly the right thing to do. Don't just put all your people in. Respect what's come before you. Respect the club, and actually utilize someone like Mark, who's got a hell of a lot of experience, at West Ham, a hell of a lot of experience with the academy as well, and could be that sort of link between the first team and the academy. And actually, speaking about that, that was even more so yesterday, as West Ham played Reading and we'll talk about more in the Academy show, but they played Reading in the next round of the Virtue Trophy, with one Thomas Souček being in the side. Last week, or week before last, we had who did we have in? We had Potsy in there. We had Fabianski in there, but obviously Souček still being suspended. Very clever way to give him some game time, give him some reps, because we won't see him back again until after the international break now, because he'll be suspended. It's 3-game suspension, so he'll be suspended for the Arsenal game as well. Unfortunately, the boys went down 3-1 to a couple of dodgy decisions. Went one up. Callum Marshall, of course, scored his 3rd goal in the tournament, but then a penalty, red card. it was a tough one. Actually, Worcester saved that penalty, but down to 10 men, they couldn't hold out, unfortunately. But good to see a bit of continuity there. Almost using the Virtua Trophy a bit like the old Combinations League. Do you know what I mean? Giving Fabianski some reps, giving Thomas Souček some reps. People coming back from injury, utilising that. Very clever. Very clever, West Ham. I like that. Anyway, keep an eye on the channel. I believe the wonderful Holly will be back with her take on the week's proceedings, I would assume. And don't forget tonight as well, old school hammers with Budgie and Kieran, 10 o'clock tonight. And until next time, my friends, if you like what we do, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share. Let me know your thoughts. Who would you like to see come in, from a West Ham perspective? I think it's more likely to be Mark Robson, but, who would you like? Would you like 𝗔𝗥𝗧𝗦𝗕𝗨𝗜𝗟𝗏? Would you like, I don't know, 𝗕𝗨𝗡𝗡𝗏? Would you like Conch? Would you like Teddy Sheringham? I don't know, just who would you like to come in and be that sort of mix that X mentions that Nuno's looking for? Instead of new around here, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, give it a hype. If you've got any hypes left, you've got 3 hypes a week. So use them wisely, my friends. And until next time, we'll see you soon, potatoes.